Thank you both for being here this afternoon. I would like to give you both an opportunity to introduce yourselves. And if you could tell me briefly your connection to the library. Pauline, we'll start with you.
Well, I was so glad they put a library here. Well, one afternoon, I was out in the parking lot, and a gentleman came up and said that he was with this group that people that are retired would like jobs. And I said, what kind? And he mentioned the library, and I said, that would be mine. Because when I was growing up in school, I learned to work in the library. And when I was in college, I worked at the library. So it's always been my choice.
And how long ago was that?
That was in 1993.
The Green Thumb program?
The Green Thumb program.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know exactly what I'd be doing. I did not realize I was going on the Bookmobile. And that was a little bit of a shock, but after I went in, I enjoyed what it was all about. Taking books to people, and people getting on and choosing their books. And I enjoyed that, meeting the people out I went on roads in Madison County I didn't know existed. It was an entirely new thing. And I was with Kathleen, 7 years?
At least.
At least 7 years. And then Sue told me that Beth was going to be doing it. And I had met her. You had gone out with us once. And I thought, oh, I like that idea. And I don't know, I think they were a little surprised that I stayed, but I'm glad I did.
And Beth, would you care to introduce yourself?
My name is Mary Beth Madden. I started at the library as a volunteer in 88, 89, somewhere through there, they called it the QUEP program. It was, my husband was hurt, and we were having to, we were using government assistance. And that program, one part of that program was that the person on assistance needed to do some sort of volunteer work or career training, that type of thing. And so whenever my worker said, okay, there's a couple of options that you could take, either the courthouse, they need a janitor, or the library said that they'd take somebody and they'll find something for you to do. So I said, oh, library, yeah, I like that. When I was really young, I lived in central Kentucky, and the Bookmobile would come to our little town once a month, and that day was the best day of the month, because I was one of 8. We would run to the Bookmobile when it was Bookmobile Day to we could get records and books and all kinds of stuff. So Bookmobile Day was a great day for us. And so Stan and Abby, who were working in Berea, Stan said, well, yeah, I'll take somebody to help with the children's program. And so for 2 days in my volunteering, I was cutting out construction paper. And I thought, I think I could do more, but this is what they want me to do. So I went to Stan after the second day and said, I think I could do more to help. If you have other things you want me to do, I'll do this, but I could do more. So then they started to let me be on the desk, circulation. I loved it. Meeting people and putting books away and, I loved it. So then a part-time position came open. I took it. I worked part-time for a couple years. Then I had to get a full-time job. So I left, went to UK, then a full-time position came open in the library, and I applied. I was so happy. So I got full-time in the Richmond location. And a couple years after that, Kathleen, who was working with Pauline, she was leaving, And I think my major requirement for driving the Bookmobile was that I could drive a huge vehicle because I had a 15 passenger van. So, Sue Hayes, who was the director, asked me if I might consider that position. And I had for the last maybe year during summer reading gone out and started doing story time on the Bookmobile, and I loved it so much. So I was involved with storytelling, and then I guess, I don't know, it just was a natural progression, and I decided, yeah, I'll do it. So Polly became a dear friend from then on. We, made so many relationships out in the county and serving people. It was a lifetime of fulfillment,
It was.
to help people when, and get what they needed and what they asked for, and just having them welcome us into their homes and into their lives. It creates memories and relationships that are forever. So
We had some great times.
we absolutely did. And then, organizations grow as the library has grown so much. It's huge. And so then things kept going, and outreach became a department of their own. So then Ruthie said, would you like to be the manager for the department? I'm like, I think I can do that. So that's been a joy. But I think my favorite times were either on a circulation desk or with Pauline on the Bookmobile. Those were the best.
Yeah.
Pauline, would you care to share a cherished memory you have of your Bookmobile experience?
And meeting the people, getting acquainted with them, and becoming good friends.
Can you give me an example of one of these relationships, a family or somebody you've met on the Bookmobile?
There was a couple, Ruth and Jean.
Muslim.
He liked westerns, paperback westerns. I can still see him coming up behind the house, carrying that little bag. And Ruth, she liked just about anything, and we got real close to them. And one day, we'd go in the house, get something to drink or something. And Jim was sitting in a chair, and he said, I'm not feeling good at all. I'm going to have to go to the hospital. So I came back out. Ruth was on the car, on the book, and our Bess went back in there, and they called she called the family and everything. And I stood out waiting for the ambulance to come, and I saw it. I literally ran down. It was off the road. I ran down the road to meet them. And the sad part about it, he died that night. And that was a family. And of course, we stayed close to Ruth. I've watched kids grow up. I remember one of those boys, I could see him now go and get in that tub of books. We have pictures of that. Now he is a college graduate. And it really makes you feel old when you get to thinking about these little kids we knew I held in my lap. They're now grown. And some of them married. It really makes it. But it was 17 years of wonderful time. I don't regret taking that job. Now, of course, I was with Greg Shum, and then Sue put me on as a member, work at the library.
Thank you for sharing that.
The story that she was talking about, that immediately popped into my mind because Jean, they were a wonderful family. Their daughter was actually, she's the longest standing, Debbie Jones, is the longest standing Bookmobile user that we have.
Yeah.
When she was just a young teenager, early teenager. She was one a regular on the regular stop when the Bookmobile first started coming out, and she still has home stops. So that's a lifetime user.
Yeah.
So, and I remembered, well, that day that she was speaking of, whenever the day Jean died, Pauline did have to run down a little dirt road to flag the ambulance because it was hard to find. They didn't have GPS. It was hard to find it, and so she was flagging the ambulance to show him where she was, where he was, and they did get him to the hospital. But I had called the family, called his daughters, and one of his daughters said to me, for some reason she didn't like driving in heavy traffic. She just she couldn't do it. And she told me later, she says, I'm so appreciative that you all were there that day because I got to say goodbye to my daddy, and I wouldn't have got to if y'all hadn't called me. So, I mean, that's like, where you get that,
You got acquainted with these people
You did.
that we saw. We became part of their family. And it was, I think I would talk about it to other people. They didn't understand exactly what I was doing. Till I explained to them, we were visiting in people's homes. We became a part of their family.
Yeah.
Each and every
we
one of them.
taking library materials and taking books and things to them because they weren't able to get to the library. They were so far away. They didn't have vehicles. They didn't have cars. They were so far back. They couldn't make it to the library, and it's made a difference in their lives. So
We took them, some of them that left their homes, went to the hospital. We didn't go there.
yep.
We did that.
So it sounds like the best part of the Bookmobile was forming these relationships.
Absolutely. That really is and the older people that I came to realization, we would go see these older people. There was this one lady, she was a character, and she'd always come up with a joke. And she passed away, and when she did, I thought, I don't know if I can do this anymore. It's hard to lose these people. It's hard. But when she passed away, I realized, if I hadn't been doing this job, I would have never met her.
You never met her.
I would have never been a part. And, because I got to know her well, we might have given her a book or might have given her something that made a difference in her life that we don't even know. I had this guy where I used to take the Bookmobile to an inmate facility. And so we would go, they would check out a lot. And we did some computer classes with them, a lot of work with the inmates. They very often, it would be at their dinner time, and they'd come out with plates. We made rolls, It's dinner time. It was so sweet of them. But
you became part of the family.
And they were always so appreciative that they had access to books because they didn't in there. They had access to things that they would not have had because they were inmates. This one day when I was in my office, there was a knock on my door. It was on an outside door. And I went to the door, and it was a gentleman who was an inmate. And to me, this was so precious. He came to me, he said, I just want to tell you all that because you all showed me how to use a computer, you showed me what to do, I could come in here, I applied for a job, I got an apartment because we had to do all this online. He said, because you all came and helped us, now I'm going to be okay out here.
I think the most important thing was we went out all kinds of weather. And we get called out in all kinds of weather. But it was just watching the children that I helped. And it's amazing how they've grown up now. And they're gone.
Yeah.
But it was worth every minute of it, being out there on that bookmobile. We call it the bread box. We wasn't air conditioned, and actually we had a microwave.
We did for lunch.
We had a little microwave which we could fix something to eat. But how we went out there in all those weathers, and just on those roads. The first time that Bess went out, we started up that road and we were meeting a truck coming down.
It was a school bus.
With school bus. And then the time that they were moving that house down, you remember?
Mm-hmm.
I said, you really got into it.
Well, it was dirt roads, this wide, barely wide enough for the library, a cliff on this, rock wall on this side, and 100 feet down on that side. Where you're meeting the very first day, I met a bus coming down this dirt road. Well, I had to back down what seemed like forever. It was probably a quarter of a mile.
Yeah.
Around, and well, the bus couldn't back down, so it taught me how to maneuver a vehicle.
She learned.
Yeah.
She learned.
Well, it was, it could have been a bad day for us that day.
But when I started out, I didn't realize these roads were in Madison County.
What?
I went on places I didn't know. And I kept telling people about, oh, you won't stay there. Well, I stayed 17 years and enjoyed every minute of it. And with the coldness and I remember one time I was with Kathleen, we parked in the creek.
Yeah.
One time. And it was just amazing.
There were some stops you had to cross a creek to get to.
Yeah, we did.
And, unless it was, really raining.
Real
and then those
rainy,
were the
but
days that,
really.
sorry, we can't make it.
Yeah. We can't make it, but we'd be out there when it starts snowing and stuff
Yeah.
on those hills. But I was never afraid. And we made it. We were doing a job
Yeah.
that they wanted us to do and taking books to these people. That's what was so great about it. And I took one of the men at the church, knew when I came to me, he said, will you go take books to MMA? And I had known MMA when she was a little girl.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. She was a sweet lady.
She was a sweet thing. I took books to her.
She was had a partial paralysis.
Yeah.
She had strokes. And, if anybody could have had a bad attitude, it might have been her. But she did not.
No. Mm-mm. She laughed.
Yeah.
Of course, she remembered me. I was her Sunday school teacher. And we laughed about that. And it's, I don't know, it's just something, all the jobs I've had, that was the best. I've been in Texas. I worked with Parker Seal, and they built a plant down there, and I went down there for about 3.5 years. And, this was I started out I was in the 8th grade, 7th, 8th grade. We had a library, and I've always been a book reader. And I got acquainted with her, and she taught me how to shelf books. And all through the last year, that was the year the war started, the library went to Washington, D.C. I ended up taking care of the library. And that's how I got.
At Berea College?
No, at high school.
In your high school?
Real great. High school, yeah.
Now, was that the fruit jar school?
In the fruit jar, yeah. So I did that for 2 years in my senior year. And one night, the principal came, gave me a letter, and I opened it up, and it's a $5 check. The president had started helping young people and with jobs like that. And I thought, right at Christmas, I got $5.
Well, and you also, through your career, after you were off, you got was it 2017 or 2018, the Library Volunteer of the Year, Kentucky Library Volunteer? What year was that, 18 or 17?
2017.
Yeah. Which is really
I
cool.
got awards for being for volunteering.
Yeah.
So you have so much experience with life. You just celebrated a pretty big milestone birthday. Happy belated birthday. 17 years with the Madison County Public Library, and sounds like you held down the fort with the high school library. With all of your experience, what advice would you give future librarians who drive the Bookmobile in Madison County?
To realize you're not just taking books, but you get acquainted with the people that you're taking them to. You learn from them, and you learn what they like to read. I think that's I've noticed since I quit. Working at the library is just not working at the library. You're helping people. It's not just a job. And you get acquainted with them and, learn what they like. I think that's the main thing.
Right.
Beth, you've been with the library for how many years now?
I don't know, 26, 27. It's been so good that it's hard to even keep count. 25, 26, I don't know, 27, whatever. I think if you're the best advice for a bookmobile person is to keep open-minded and my kind of mantra was with children, you never know what book is going to make a child a reader. When they open that up, that world, you never know what book's going to make them jump in. And you never know what you do, what service you provide, what it's going to mean to another person's life. It might be something that you think is just commonplace. It might be that you're taking a video or a book, whatever it is, and you think, well, it's just a popular book, or it's just a book about, how to clean your house or how to plant a garden. You never know what that's going to do for that person and for that person's life. And, those relationships that you make, and if you can be comfortable with them and accept them, and they know you accept them, then they're willing to open up and let you help them. And, they let you be a part of their lives, and it's a good feeling whenever when you feel like you've helped somebody.
I think that's to me, working at the library, it's not just a job. It's getting acquainted with the people and see what they like. I learned that quite very much out there on the road with it.
But if you're not ready to serve, if you don't want to serve, you don't have any business on the bookmobile.
No,
because that's what it is.
I see a difference in it now, where it's run. I'm not fussing about it or anything. It's different, and evidently, from what I've checked around, they've all changed. It's entirely different now. I sort of miss that part of it when I'm out. But I have checked around, and it's not just us, it's everywhere. I don't know, it's just different again.
Amazing. And Beth, this is your last week
This is my last week.
for retirement.
And here I am with my favorite person ever.
Oh, she's my favorite. I'm telling you, we had some great times down
did.
there.
I want to thank you both for taking time to share your Bookmobile experiences and for all the years of service to
Thank
the
you.
library.
We had some good times. We had some sad times. And
We did.
we've laughed a lot.
Oh, we have.
You know.
You know, Madison County has grown a lot, and we've been a leader with Bookmobile
Uh-huh.
growth. You know, we were like one of the first to go automated, and you know, we would. They made it easy. You know, they how to make internet connections, and I would say, well, this is what we're doing, and there were some out there that some other Bookmobile people that said that won't work. As well, it does for us, and then it catches on. So we've been a real leader. Madison County has.
Yeah,
And it's been really, it's been great being a part of that.
I think so.
Yeah.
When I go up, sometimes I go up with Bass, with Marsha, up at the library here. I would do a little different. To me, working inside, there are some people that come quite a bit. You learn what they like, and you have suggestions for it. And it's changed some, but maybe that's what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
Go along with it. So, but Beth and I had a good time, of course, with Kathleen, but Beth was really interested in doing things, helping people more. And I think of the times that we had pictures. I've got pictures that of the different ones that we visited over the years. And some of them have died since I quit. And I've got a list, I think there's about 10 or 11 that have died since I left. And they became close friends. We laughed. And we always had something funny to do. Or I can see them standing out there on the road waiting for us. That was good.
It's been good.
It has
It's-
been.
You know, they say if you love what you do, you don't work a day. We didn't work a day.
Mhm. But we've
We
had
enjoy
our hot
what we do.
days, our cold days.
Yeah.
We got pictures of us sitting over in front of here, wrapped up. That's when we were all that we called bread box. And they were just good or bad. You just went with it.
Thank you again for
Thank you.
taking time to talk with us today.
Get to go down memory lane. It was fun. We went down memory lane a little bit.
Yes, we did. I think about those people
Yeah.
that we saw. Marsha, Beth made me a book when I retired, pictures of the different people that we visited, the pictures. I go through it every once in a while, and I look at that schedule that we made. It's
It was
not
pretty tight.
It was something else. The places that we went. And I think, how did we do that? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Well, you did it.
We did
We
it.
did it. We did it.